This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on unrest in Pakistan and its implications. The participants are T.C.A. Raghavan, former ambassador, and Nilowa Roy Chaudhary, journalist.
Pakistan appears to have descended further into a quagmire with the arrest on May the 9th and arraignment of former Prime Minister Imran Khan. His supporters and members of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party have taken to the streets in major cities across Pakistan, even venting their ire on military establishments. Ambassador Raghavan, a commentator in the Dawn newspaper today, has said that reality becomes irrelevant because conspiracy and fears create their own dark reality. And he says that Pakistan is in the midst of multi-dimensional chaos, primarily because of the climate of fear which surrounds the major stakeholders. How accurate is this statement?
Well, this crisis has been brewing in Pakistan for some time now. And former Prime Minister Imran Khan's arrest is only the latest phase of this long crisis. The crisis has different dimensions, but certainly one very important dimension is the political conflict which is taking place in Pakistan. And the roots of that conflict really go back quite deep into Pakistan's history, have to do with the nature of the civil-military structure which exists in that polity. Imran Khan lost power about a year ago, primarily because his relationship with the military disintegrated. And he suddenly found that arrayed against him were the former opposition, which he had marginalized in the same way, using the military as his ally, as what is being done to him today. So this is a crisis of different political parties in Pakistan trying to cement a relationship with the Pakistan military to settle scores with their political opponents. And which is why it appears so intense and so complicated, because it is not clear in what way and through what modality this crisis can be resolved.
It is somewhat ironic that Mr. Imran Khan, who initially came to power on the back of the armed forces, is today himself its major opponent. It appears to be, the army seems to be his most immediate target, going by what happened with his supporters. Yesterday, they even targeted the corps commanders' residents in various cantonment towns. Now, given the fact the army, all said and done, is still primary major force to end with in politics in Pakistan, is it likely they will be able to arrive at some kind of a working via media between the armed forces and the political establishment at this point, with this kind of people out on the streets?
It does not appear that any sustainable way out can be found. What usually happens in Pakistan is that some kind of a solution is improvised. That solution is improvised in an arbitrary manner. We must remember that civil-military conflict in Pakistan is endemic. And it is true that relations between Imran Khan and the military broke down last year, which led to his removal from power. Similar situations have recurred in the past also, and they led to removals of other primes, including Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. And each time there was a crisis, and it was resolved by some arbitrary improvisation, such as people being jailed or removed from political life or being sent into exile. Perhaps we will see some kind of an improvisation of a similar nature this time around also, because what is very clear is that Imran Khan does not appear to have any confidence left with the military establishment, and it will do what it can to make sure that he does not in any way come back to power. This situation is made complex by the fact that he is enormously popular at the street level, and in case there was an election in the near future, as there is scheduled to be, he will certainly get a very strong positive response voters. So what we are probably going to end up with is some kind of an improvised solution whereby he is either sent into exile or he is removed from political life for a certain period of time, as was the case with Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and the late Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. But there is no easy solution to the civil-military conflict in Pakistan.
Because at this point, it appears that one of the attempts being made is to remove Mr. Imran Khan from political authority. I mean, there's talk, I think people have filed cases to try and remove him as chief of the PTI party. Now, some kind of an effort is already afoot to try and marginalize him politically to the extent possible. Given his popular support, I don't know whether that works or not. Do you think that this might lead to some kind of a primacy of the constitution and the legislature gaining some kind of an upper hand again over the military establishment? Is that a possibility?
I don't see the possibilities of that. We must remember that however outraged Prime Minister Imran Khan's supporters may sound, what is being done to him is no different from what he did to former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. And so while all the political parties project their positions as being based on principle and on constitutional ground, in fact, these are very narrow political ends which are being pursued, and they realize that success depends greatly on the kind of relationship they have with the military establishment. So I don't see a eureka moment for Pakistan whereby we will suddenly find out of this crisis legislative supremacy emerging. As I said, I think we will have some kind of an improvised solution, however arbitrary it may sound or be. What is making the situation so much more serious right now is Pakistan's serious economic crisis and economic difficulties, because this extent of political conflict certainly is going to compound Pakistan's economic situation and make it far worse.
One is that Imran Khan's popularity primarily sort of stemmed from the fact that he accused everyone else of being corrupt and, tried to put everyone in jail or whatever for their corruption. Now, of the 100-odd cases against him at this point, and the one under which he was arrested yesterday is actually to do with corruption and almost directly indicting him. So how does he retain his popularity under these circumstances is what I don't quite understand, given how bad the economy is.
Well, Imran Khan, to his core constituency, presents a new kind of politics which is non-dynastic and which is non-feudal. I think that is his primary strength. Along with that, he has a certain charismatic appeal because the fact of his being a sports icon for Pakistan in cricket and the fact that he has used his iconic status for a social and public cause, which was building a cancer hospital. So all of this marks him out as being a different kind of political figure, and that is how he appears to his core constituency. Whether he's that in reality is of course a different matter, but in politics appearances matter more than reality sometimes. And certainly his support has not decreased, notwithstanding the major accusations, the major allegations, and some of the allegations appear to be well-founded of corruption and malpractice against him during his time as Prime Minister.
Given the state of Pakistan's serious economic crisis, the fact that they're in danger of even defaulting and so on. And clearly this political situation can't be good, and this political uncertainty will further deter any kinds of possible donors. But why is Pakistan's sort of fast friend China staying so quiet in this whole process? They need to have a stable Pakistan. They need to have a Pakistan that's not so dysfunctional. Why is China choosing to be so non-committal on Pakistan?
To my mind, primarily because this is a purely domestic crisis and a purely domestic churn in Pakistan. There is no way any external power can influence it. And possibly the Chinese realize that they have no real capacity to do much in these circumstances. We must remember Pakistan is a country of over 200 million people. It's the fifth or sixth largest country in the world. It is not a small economy which someone can bail out quickly. The extent of its economic crisis requires huge commitment, and no external player prepared to undertake those commitments for various reasons, but also because they don't see any clear political picture emerging in Pakistan. So they don't want to end up being in a position where they have made an open-handed commitment, because that would be a heavy drain on any country. And certainly I think the Chinese, along with other friends of traditional sailors out of Pakistan, realize that this is an internal issue and their ability or their capacity to do much is very limited.
India, this is not at all a good situation in the sense that political turmoil, closest neighboring country, is not good news. And obviously India realizes it is an entirely domestic issue in Pakistan. So what are the prospects, do you think, that for India-Pakistan relations in the coming months and years? The visit of Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto to Goa was quite a washout anyways. What do you think happens now between India and Pakistan?
Well, the best case scenario for India and Pakistan in the current circumstances would be for the status quo to continue, because the extent of political confusion and the political conflict in Pakistan is such that we cannot expect any serious forward movement on India-Pakistan relations, even if it were possible with other things being equal. I think if the status quo remains, if the ceasefire on the LOC is maintained, that would be a good enough development. Although it must be said that there have been worrying developments on the security front, and in particular terrorist attacks which have taken place in Jammu and Kashmir, which cast a certain shadow on the future when you look at India-Pakistan relations.
At this point, the tussles between the political parties, the judiciary, the legislature, the judiciary, and the opposition, and of course the economic situation, makes for a very, very difficult situation. I don't think all of these have coalesced in this fashion earlier in the past, in the sense of creating this level of chaos. Would have a much better idea. Has this happened before?
Certainly you're right that this kind of different crises coming together possibly has not happened in the recent past, but one must remember that crisis in itself is not something new to Pakistan. Pakistan has periodically gone through different kinds of crisis, and in each of those situations the implication different. So it's not a novel situation for Pakistan to be facing a major economic crunch or a constitutional and political crisis of the kind it is facing. These situations have arisen before in a country which has seen multiple military coups, with political leaders being locked up, with technical default having taken place in the past. It's not entirely new, although I would agree that the way the different elements of this crisis have coalesced is somewhat worrying in the present circumstances.
Do you think there are is this situation ripe again for yet another military takeover in that country? Or do you think the chaos may be resolved, with a sort of uneasy truce between the various warring factions?
To my mind, the Pakistan military has no appetite left for an old-fashioned coup, because they see the consequences of such coups in the past, and they also see how difficult it is for the military to run Pakistan, which is now a totally different country from what it was in the 1970s and 1980s. So what will be attempted is some kind of an improvised solution, in which certainly the military will play a major role, but it would prefer playing that role from behind the scenes to the extent possible. Of course, we do not know how this current phase of protest against Imran Khan's arrest will play out, whether these will gradually die away in the next 2 or 3 days as is expected, or whether they will intensify and spread even further. If there is a major internal security crisis brought about by popular protest on the street, that will raise a new and perhaps unprecedented situation for Pakistan. And then we will have to see how the military reacts to it.
So at this point, basically, it is a sort of a wait and watch kind of situation, and see how things manage to get resolved in Pakistan, and hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you so very much, Ambassador Raghavan, for all of your insights.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on unrest in Pakistan and its implications. The participants were TCA Raghavan, former ambassador, and Nilofa Roy Chaudhary, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 928-909-4044.